Hello, my name is Dean Contover. This is the Current Buzz. Today we have a woman from the Governor's Council. You've probably never heard of it, but there is a Governor's Council. There's 8 people on, and they call her Councillor, right? Because you're on the Governor's Council. It's Marilyn Petite Devaney, right? Am I correct?
Petite Devaney,
yeah,
that's right.
Devaney. And she's a Governor's Council member, and she's one of 8 people. So I want you to ask her questions. Now, I'm going to ask her questions because I don't know very much about the Governor's Council. So we're going to go step by step what she does. She's been there since 1999. Is that correct? And she was telling me earlier that when she started, she was only getting $14,000, and now it pays, what, 36, 35?
Before taxes.
Yeah, before taxes. And it pays like $36,000.
Right.
It's not a lot of money, I mean, considering. So you do it for the love of it.
Well, you have to campaign, so when it comes down to, I don't make any money, but
Okay.
I love what I do.
Your district, right? Your district is how many towns and cities?
Well, they redistricted. I had 32, now I have 31. From
Oh, wow, big
Foxborough
deal.
to Boston.
All the way to Boston, huh?
Yep.
Well, you live in Watertown,
Yes, I do.
So you're close to Boston. You
Right.
get involved with the
Right.
politics in the area, but this area is kind of new to you. Is that my?
Well, as I said, I grew up and we didn't have a car. And so this was country. I never heard of Shirley. I never heard of Harvard, Mass, or any of it.
And they were in your district.
And right, and for me, it was a wonderful experience for me to go out to these towns and cities and see how beautiful it is and how kind and people are. I really can't say enough about it.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Chelmsford.
Thank you. Thank you.
What we like is good governance, and that's why you're on, so the people will know who you are, so they can make a decision. When's the next election? That's in November.
September.
Oh, September, the primary.
That's it. Democratic primary.
Yeah.
Got to get through September.
Oh, okay. So usually it's somebody that is a Democratic running against you in September of 2024, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then usually there's not a Republican
I've
who
had
runs.
okay. Independents. I've had both independents and Republicans. In my 25 years, only rare that I'm unopposed.
Okay.
I have the most progressive Democratic district out of all the 8 other members, the other 7 members.
Oh, I see. Okay. So, all right. How many times do you meet? There's 8 of you from different districts in Massachusetts. And how many times do you meet?
We meet once a week. We have hearings.
Okay.
And besides the hearing, we have a public assembly when we meet with the Lieutenant Governor. And the Lieutenant Governor is actually the chair of the council, but does not come to our hearings. But she is in charge, presiding over the public assembly. And at that public assembly, we vote for the nominees that we've had their hearings. And so we vote for them there, and we vote for pardons or commutations, justice of the peace, notaries, so public administrators. So that's really our formal assembly that we meet once a week also.
Okay, once a week. She is usually there?
Well, she has to be.
Oh, she has. Oh, it's okay. So in other words, there's 9 members. Does she vote?
The way it works is she is not a voting member.
Okay.
But there's 8 of us.
Yeah.
So if there is a tied vote, 4-4, the Lieutenant Governor breaks the tie.
I see. Okay.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I kind of figured that because it was 8, and if it's an even vote, 4-4, then she would break the tie. So has there ever been 4-4 votes?
Oh, sure.
Oh, is that right?
Not in the last administration, unfortunately. And unfortunately, the council did not vote down one person on any of the boards, commissions, judge, or clerk magistrate.
Okay.
I did. Not as a, every one, but when I knew that person was not qualified. For example, we had Westboro Court.
Okay.
And you know the
district court.
The district court.
Okay.
And the qualifications were that that the judge and the clerk magistrate that were voted were coaches for Lieutenant Governor Polito's son when he played youth football, and they were all neighbors. That's really the difference now. I love this administration serving with Governor Healy and Governor Driscoll. We've got an open government that people can apply, and they know they will. I mean, we had Lieutenant Governor Polito's best friend, and she went to the Cambridge court, and guess what? There was no opening. There was no public advertising. So if you wanted to apply, you couldn't. And 2 of the assistants at the Cambridge court quit because they were waiting for the opportunity to be interviewed for the clerk magistrate's job, but it never happened. He just put someone in there. So, you know, I know good government, and I think that's important to have someone in there that understands and demands good government and demands qualified, experienced people.
You said magistrate. What's a magistrate do? So,
Clerk magistrate is serves on the bench.
Okay.
And that's really the face of the court. When you go to court,
When
you
you
will
go to
see
district
that
court.
person. You will see that person first.
I see.
And
they make a decision of whether it goes to the judge. Is that my
They
understanding?
can make decisions, but they can't do sentencing. Yeah.
I see. I see. Okay. So they make a decision, like if you get a traffic ticket or something like that.
It'll take care of it right there. Yeah.
The magistrate will take care of it.
Misdemeanor or something like that.
So you have decisions not only on judges, but also magistrates.
Well, I'm going to tell you, anyone that runs for governor's council should be aware it's just not judges.
Okay.
It's judges, clerk magistrates, parole board. I want to ensure that those people, those members, believe in second chances. Industrial Accident Board, if you're an injured worker,
Right.
I want to make sure that you're going to be able to put food on the table and that judge is going to be compassionate.
Okay.
Appellate Tax Board, if you want to challenge your taxes.
Appellate tax board.
Yeah, if you want to challenge your taxes and don't think it's fair or whatever, you can go to them. And I tell people in my district, and some people have been helped. So all of those positions are important. And I want to make sure that person is qualified, experienced, not a political friend.
Okay.
Because what happens is when people don't get an interview, they go away. And we lose good people that would serve us well. Right. But it didn't happen. And we did have good people that came through. But the ones that were political outnumbered the others.
I see.
And, you know, I just don't go along. I won't go along.
Okay. I was going to get to the parole board and then these other boards.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the parole board. How many members on the parole board? And you have decisions as a councilor, a governor's council, to appoint members on the parole board. Is that my understanding of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we're supposed to have 7, we only have 4 now, and so the governor is going to be really busy, you know, putting the 3 on. And it's very important.
Now, if I want to be on the parole board, can I be on the parole board?
Well, first of all, there's a process that you have to apply, and then the governor's staff will interview you.
Okay.
Now, that's different than clerk, magistrate, and judges. Clerk magistrates and judges go through what we call the Judicial Nominating Commission.
Okay.
The governor appoints 21 attorneys.
Wow.
And they have more authority than me.
No kidding.
So they'll decide if you're going to have an interview, because you'll send your application to them.
Okay.
Decide whether you're going to have an interview, and maybe you'll have an interview and they won't choose you. But when they do choose someone, that person is given to the governor, and the governor, with that recommendation, presents that name to us to have a hearing. So people think we have so much authority. We don't. I don't look through resumes. I have one person, and I don't know who applied. I don't know how many. That's not told.
Yeah.
I only know this one person. So I do my due diligence. I'm the only one. I have met with over 1,000 people, Dean, from parole board to judge. I meet with them because I'm voting for the whole person. I'm not going to go in once a week and look at a paper in a resume. I get to know them. And one of the things I look for, qualifications, experience, honesty,
right.
But I look for compassion. If you don't have compassion, then you shouldn't be on a bench. You shouldn't be making decisions, whether it's for an injured worker or whatever.
Right.
So that to me is very important.
I see. So they only give you one? They don't give you the top three or anything?
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
That's why, I'll tell you, like people out there, I knew nothing about the Governor's Council. I never heard of it. I never knew.
I think 1% of the people
No,
in
and
Massachusetts
so I
know what it's
identify
about.
with them.
Yeah.
So how did I run? What happened was I had a friend, and she was in a dangerous relationship. And she had it's called a 209A, and it's a restraining order.
Yeah, restraining order, yeah.
And he was getting it was getting worse. So she had gone to court 7 times seeking help from the judge.
Yeah.
No, she wasn't getting help. And he was violating. No matter where she was, he was stalking her. So anyway.
That's not good.
No. So anyway, my late husband was a firefighter, and a friend of ours was a police officer. We asked him if he would go with her the 8th time. So our friend, the police officer, said to the judge, she fears for her life. Give him a $200,000 bail. Guess what? He got a $200 bail.
That's nothing.
So he turned to my friend. Out of fear, she paid it. And our police officer friend said that he was out the door before the police officer. And it was the judge, what he said, that I will never forget. He said to my friend, you have been wasting my time. You've been wasting this court's time. She was dead in 2 weeks.
How long did that?
She was dead in 2 weeks. He killed her. And I thought to myself, how did this judge get the job? How did he get the job? I didn't know whether he got appointed. I had no idea. Looked into it. And I found out that there was a Governor's Council, and they were elected. And I looked up all of the responsibilities of what they did, and I said, I can do that. And while I'm there, there'll never be a judge like that. My friend was murdered.
How long ago was this, Marilyn?
26 years ago.
26 years ago. Do you think it's changed?
What?
The regards to the 209A,
I think, I only know that it's almost impossible to safeguard that person, whether they're walking to the store or walking to work or whatever.
Yeah.
But he could have done something. If that judge had held him to $200,000, maybe she would have had more time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But all I know is that he killed her. And it made such an impact on me. I had to find out how judges get their jobs, and that's how I ran. Yes, I ran for $14,000. I would have ran if it was no salary at all, because I really committed to having good judges. And what I'm concerned about is the racial discrimination in our Massachusetts courts. It is prevalent, and I'm fighting it.
You're kidding me.
And I go out to
You're
the
kidding
prisons.
me.
I go out to the prisons,
Okay.
and I meet with inmates who are trying to get a commutation.
What's a commutation? I'm sorry.
A commutation is that they're released from prison.
Okay.
Now, I've got to tell you the story that just happened on Veterans Day. Now, first of all, I met one of them that I met. 53 years he had been serving.
Wow.
Of a life sentence without parole.
Oh.
I voted for his commutation. Now, I was at the Newton Veterans Day.
Okay.
And this man came up to me and said, thank you. And I looked at him, and it was the man that I met in prison,
Wow.
53 years, and he was out. And I mean, that's the most memorable Veterans Day that I'll ever have, that he was there, that we met, and we talked, and we're going to meet again. We're going to be in touch, because he had an advocate, and that woman was there, and her husband wasn't with her, but he's a doctor. And they advocated for him. But you know how many in prison don't have an advocate, and they'll be there the rest of their lives? So I'm going to be meeting with them, and I'm going to keep trying to see people in prison wrongfully committed or long sentences that didn't fit. and this racial disparity, and I'm going to see
Well,
what we
let's
can
talk
do.
about racial disparity. What's happening? You say, is it in the courts or is it in the prisons? Is it today or?
It's in the courts. That's where it starts. And people, black people, are discriminated against, and there's no nice way to say it. And every time we have hearings, I talk about it. I talk about it to the nominee, that it has to change, and it's not fair. It's not fair. And one of the men that I voted for a commutation, and I met with him at his prison, I said to him, when you're free, I'm taking you out to an Italian restaurant in Watertown. And we did. Last month we went out, and we talked, and just amazing. This man wasn't even in the room when his friend in another part of the house stabbed someone to death. He had no knowledge of it, and he got life in prison without parole. Is that fair?
No.
So anyway, but he's such a good person. He did so many programs while he was there. He helped so many people. And, you know, when I think of it, it's just amazing that he's out now. But how many others, like William, that are there? And you know, when we were out, I said to him, I don't know how you can find it, but you know what I'd like you to find? The movie 12 Angry Men. That's an old one, 1957, Henry Fonda. And he did. He watched it that night, and he called me. He says, that's the best movie I ever saw.
Oh, wow.
And if you remember it, it was about a black boy that was accused of murder. And one person, Henry Fonda was one of the 12, he held out. You know, I hope you see it sometime. I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story.
All right. I'll put it down on my list to watch. So we were talking about the parole board, right? There's, what, 7 on the parole board, and there's 4 that have to, so that has to go before you, the parole board nominee. Is that correct?
What happens is if that person going before the parole board is voted by them to be paroled, then that person will come before us. That name will come before us to decide whether that person should be released or not. So it's a lot of investigation. That's why this is not a part-time job with me. I'm not a lawyer. And in 25 years, out of the 8, we've already had at least 5 or 6 lawyers on there.
Well, right now, how many lawyers are on the board now?
One was just appointed clerk magistrate, but there would have been, I don't know, 4 or 5, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But let me just tell you, this is so amazing because it is a conflict of interest, and it was voted that if you are a lawyer and you are a governor's counselor, you can appear before the judges you voted on. It's so wrong, but they're allowed to. So I think that's a good way for a second job, and it helps. It helps your practice. Not only that, the council is not under the conflict of interest law. So if you're a lawyer on the governor's council, you know how the lawyers are coming in, you vote for them, your friends or whatever. I am representing people. I have no conflict of interest at all. My late husband was a firefighter. So I'm there to do the best I can to get the best qualified, best experience, people who do pro bono, who reach out to people who can't afford a lawyer, and most important, compassion. If you don't have compassion, you should be on that bench.
Okay, interesting. Let's talk about the Industrial Accident Board. A lot of people don't know of it, but there is an Industrial Accident Board. If you get injured on the job, you can appeal it. Is that my understanding?
You go before the Industrial Accident Board, and they will decide, you know, if you are fit. Now, I voted against someone, and I want to tell you, this is incredible. This woman, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you what she said. She was the judge, and she was up for reappointment. And I voted no. No, we didn't vote. We had opposition from 2 lawyers that the governor withdrew her. Now, let me tell you, there was a severely injured worker that came before her.
Okay.
And he came in with his wife, who happened to be pregnant. You'll never guess how egregious what she said. This judge said to him, is that your wife? is that your wife? And the injured worker said, yes. Well, if you can do that, you can work. Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
You said about the pregnant
Yeah,
woman.
yeah.
If you can do that, you can work.
Wow.
We don't want anyone like that to be treated. We don't want any injured worker to be treated like that. So that's what you look for, compassion. Compassion. And what I love about the Industrial Accident Board, and I wish we had that for judges, we have like a report card. So when they're up for they have a term, 5 years.
I
so
didn't know
when they
that.
come back to the council to be reappointed,
They make good money, don't
we
they?
have a report card, and it has them against all the others, that are hearing people, and it gives any prejudice, any discrimination, any complaints from people or lawyers, and how many days did it take for them to make that decision? How many were appealed? That's important. And so that's the only commission that has that follow-up.
Okay, appeal, right? So, in other words, I go before the industrial board, I explain my injury. How many members on the board? Do we know?
I'm trying to think. I think this. I'm embarrassed. I think it's about 7.
Okay, 7. That makes sense because, if it is a vote.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So, if I lose it, I can appeal it. So I can appeal it what? To Superior Court?
Oh, you know what? That's something
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
separate.
All right. Yeah. All right. So they get good money, don't they? To be they get more money than you do being on the industrial accident board.
Well, I think clerk magistrates, I think they make about 159. Judges, 207,000. 207,000. So yeah, but these people, like on the parole board, they're dedicated. Those people have to go. Imagine how big Massachusetts is,
right.
And they just don't go to their area. They go all around and hear those cases. And not all cases are equal. I mean, when these people come for a parole, if you're going out to a prison where there are, very vicious murderers, you won't see, them quickly paroling that person. But when you have other types of community-type prisons, the paroles are given, and they're doing a wonderful job, and they're really double duty. That's why we're looking forward for her to appoint those people.
I see. So 207,000 for a judge, you mentioned, and parole boards and so forth. They also get medical coverage, right?
Oh, yeah, they have insurance and everything, sure.
Okay.
And retirement.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what, before we leave, you know what I want to tell you?
Okay.
I have appointed, historically, the first African-American on the highest court as the chair, and the openly gay, and Asian, and the first black woman. And then on the other side, I have been sued by a hate group, the Mass Resistance, and they're an anti-abortion group, and Brian Kammacher is the president. And he came into my hearing that I was presiding, and he 3 hours it went, and he told me, he took videos and everything, and he told me, you have no right to be presiding. The way it works is, if you are in my district, you are Chelmsford,
yeah.
then I would preside over your hearing. I'm going to preside over someone from Newton, because Newton is in my district.
Yeah.
So I was presiding over this very qualified person, and he sued me. He said I had no right to preside, and I had no right to confirm him or to support a pro-choice candidate. Now, this candidate was the lawyer who went to court and successfully got the buffer zone for abortion clinics. And so I have had the range of everything. I don't think anyone has gone through what I have, but I'm bringing my experience.
Good.
And I'm bringing my, and I'm going to continue to meet. I'm meeting with the new nominee Friday. I have met with everyone, and I'm going to continue to do that. So I'm asking for people's support.